Yeah, okay. No problem. Yeah. Which one to be the first one? Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
I want to. Oh, you have it. Oh,
Okay.
oh. Does anybody need copies?
Yes. Good evening, everyone.
Need copies?
Welcome to the City of Long Beach working session. It is now 6:32. Here comes Mr. Bill. Running down. Just gonna wait just a couple of minutes.
We're being awful fancy.
That's how we roll.
So I've called the meeting to order. Our first order of business is there will be a statement from the entire council read by Councilwoman.
Good evening. This is entitled "The Partnership Requires Mutual Respect," and this is from the entire Long Beach City Council.
Starting the
In
stream.
recent months, Long Beach residents have been bombarded with messages about policing in the city of Long Beach. Here are just a few examples of what our residents
Good evening.
have experienced.
And welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach, held Tuesday, June 1st, 2021, at 7 p.m.
We'll
have a roll call.
In North Park. Faceless personal
Councilmember
attacks
Delury.
made against the new commissioner
Here.
Ronald Walsh.
Councilmember Mandel.
Present.
Ridiculous
Councilmember
allegations
Treston.
of defunding of Long Beach
Vice President
police
McGinnis. President Bendo.
It would help
Present.
to know the source
Let the
of
record
these
indicate the
messages
presence of
for
City
our
Manager Donna Gaden and Deputy Corporation Counsel Richard Barrios. We'll now have a salute to the flag.
Anonymously.
Councilwoman McGinnis, would you please lead us?
There is no legitimate basis for these attacks.
To the flag.
Your city council has seen these false statements and wants you to know that the public safety is not at risk.
Under God.
Police budgets are not being defunded, and changes that are being piloted by Commissioner Walsh are data-driven initiatives.
All right.
intended
Welcome,
to
everyone.
efficiently improve the
This has been a long time coming,
application of
so
public safety resources.
just a quick show of hands. How many people had to use Google Maps to remember how to get here?
Commissioner Walsh during the police commissioner
So,
search process.
It's good to be back live and seeing everybody in person again instead of through screens or just your names on a screen. And
Commissioner Walsh is making
so let's get the show on the road. So why don't we start with the city manager's report?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back.
With our residents,
I have two announcements
of
before
our
we
neighbors
get
in
into
first
my
position.
report. I want to say thank you to the entire fire department. Last week we had two major fires, and they worked well together. They got the job done, and unfortunately, the two fires were on the exact same day. And so I want to make sure that we acknowledge every single firefighter, whether they are paid or volunteer. They did an
In
excellent
the
job.
end, we must all recognize that our community and its residents are engaged in a
Also
partnership
live is
with the
meeting
members
city
of the
manager,
local
so it's
city
no
of Long
longer
Beach Police
virtual.
Department.
I call it my office. I usually sit outside when it's really nice on the bench outside. But from 2 to 4 every Tuesday, you can make an appointment to come in and sit down and talk. Make an appointment with my executive assistant upstairs, Gina.
We ask the
And
PBA
you can talk
leaders
about anything or
to
you ask
restore
questions.
goodwill by
I always say
re-engaging
knowledge
with
is
our
power.
city leaders
So when you
and
have
engaging
questions,
in a
it's
positive
better
and
to
supportive
ask
manner.
where
Thank
you're
you.
going to get the correct information than to hear what's from someone else, which the information may not be correct. So on that, my first person is going to report is Commissioner Walsh.
So I think everybody knows the deal with the working meetings. These are just for the council listening to us talk about some city business. There's no public comment. It's just us doing our thing. Well, I see we got the commissioner here. I want to just also talk about the sailboat a little bit, if we could. And I guess apparently this guy sailed this thing here and then just said during our rescue, he just kind of walked away and left us with mess. So,
Good evening. I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you for your reports and comments. And Sergeant appreciate it. I stand before you to stress. Yes, so yesterday, at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the fire department received a call for voter distress. By the time we all got on scene, we had a boat that was coming down the shore very close to the jetties by Long Beach Road. The operator of the boat was not immediately on deck. We have a meeting coming up next week for whatever reasons. He eventually gets an anchor, and the town of Hempstead, Bay Thompson, was the first boat that shows up. He had been on the radio on Channel 16 asking for emergency help because he was in distress. They get him off the boat. They get him off the boat, they bring him to safety, they bring him down to the West End Marina in Lido. The Coast Guard shows up with the intention of actually towing the boat out to sea and then bringing it to the West End Marina. But because the boat was so close to the shoreline and the surf, none of their boats could get it in a very dangerous condition. They had to abandon it and leave. During the night, I guess around 7 o'clock, between 5 and 7, the boat actually goes under the water, underneath the surface of the water. Myself, Superman, were out there to see this. Fire department was out there to see it. And we're all trying to monitor to figure out how to handle this. We're trying to get the county Marine Bureau to pull it out. They didn't have the resources to do it. It's not that they weren't cooperative or anything. The Coast Guard to do it because it just wasn't able to be done. So the boat goes down. The Coast Guard stays. The owner of the boat was originally a little deceptive. He said that there was no fuel, no motor, or anything on the boat. Later on in the evening, our fire chief was able to get it to admit that there was some diesel fuel on the boat. So at that point, we started monitoring the boat for spillage. We did see a sheen come up, which extended probably from Long Beach Boulevard well beyond National. But did not come onto the shore, but it was right on the tide, out to where it was going, so maybe far off the way, I'm not sure. But the Coast Guard's vessel. So the last
When a resident does
24 hours has been spent working with all partners of the county, the Coast Guard, the town, trying to figure out a way to get this boat off of the shoreline and coming up to Waste Bay. So, is that? Oh, yes. Yes. So through our partnerships with Senator Kaminsky's office, then Chuck Schumer's office, and working with the county executive's office, the county has agreed that because we have declared the emergency, it would be most expedient for us to engage with the contractor to get the boat, basically scuba divers, to put it down on the beach, wrap the boat in some tethers, pull it to shore. Once it gets to shore, the city, with our maintenance crew, will then take the boat further on shore, break the boat into
So what's important about the software is that it can be rolled out to other departments. And what I try to do when we talk about it, all of our department head meetings, that we are here to serve the public. And in serving the public, you have to give them good responses. You have to hear what they say and make sure that you respond accordingly. Whether the response is a good response, no, we can't do that response, or we'll see if we can check into that response. But you have to give them a response. So this software can roll out to other departments. Thank you. Next we have Monique Powell from Community Development.
So it's very unclear. He is being, the owner of the vessel right now is being
Good evening. First off is the CDBG. So to talk about the Community Development Block Grant is to keep the mission that the city manager has expressed as far as access all. And the only way that we are able to really communicate that is to be transparent on what CDBG is. That's to go over what is the eligibility area. So on the website, we will begin to post what community development is in the eligible areas. So it's just not one specific area, it's all the neighborhoods in the area that is HUD has identified as based on census data as the areas that are eligible to receive any CDBG program funds or anything that the city administers using those funds. So that's the first step, transparency and understanding of everybody who fits under that area location, whether West End is one of the areas or North Park is eligible for any programs under CDBG. Next is criteria, and that is that 51% low moderate income. So the second criteria of income And if you fit under low, moderate income, you are eligible to receive any programs or services offered under CDBG. If you look at our recent census data from the past 10 years, not the newly updated, average income is $92,000. So low, moderate income is aggregated less than the $92,000, and those are the individuals that are eligible for our CDBG programs or services.
So right now,
What we're doing is codifying systems, understanding the mission, the goals, and the projects under CDBG, closing a lot of them out. It's more like reframing the department of people, place, and things that community development produces or provides. And that framework has now been simplified to youth services, senior services, and adult services. So that is going to be the way to reframe. And like I always say, the logic framework model will be based on those things that we provide to youth, seniors, and adults. The next step was then to align our funding. So looking at what the Community Development Block Grant provides us, we're at an average of $275,000 every program year. We're in the middle of the 46th year, leading to the 47th year. So completing these projects for 4 years, spending every dime to a zero, keeping the money in-house, aligning it to the new framework that we just said, because the city is providing services, not outsourcing. It is up to the city to provide community development. That's why it's federal dollars in the HUD, and that's why we're giving that. So to understand what that looks like, to tie into transparency with that, of who's getting it, how we're administering it, well, I think, as Donna always said, clears up. Accountability is that after every fund that's spent, it has to be towards those criteria I said earlier. Also, there is something called a CAPER report that the city has to fill out. That means the city is accountable for every dollar spent. There's a lot of documenting and reporting that needs to be done, and a lot of data that must be provided with that. So with that being said, one thing that when it comes to documenting and reporting, after talking to Nassau County, Community Development, and Federal, is that there wasn't a lot of document reporting. So the first thing that we did was Submittable. So Submittable is a grant incoming database software that we will be using. There has been a lot of conversations about organizations applying. We have high turnover whenever there's public service, and looking for a staff email that no longer exists to verify whether someone applied for application. And this is also organization-facing and even community residence-facing. So if someone was applying for residential rehab, which is a prior program, someone was applying for aid, they would all go through what we call Submittable. And this is the software that we're procuring, and where the city manager, city council, comptroller will be able to review the intakes, the applications. You will see whether someone's accepted. It is saved over the cloud. They must submit all their documents. They must provide proof that they're eligible for the programs, and we keep it cloud-based, and it was approved by IT. The next thing that we purchased was Jot forms. So we're moving forward with electronic forms instead of a lot of paper. When I first came in, we were doing a lot of shredding and documenting and finding things. So Jot forms, we are doing a lot of our community development forms via that. You can get a QR code, you can fill out an application. And we're doing DocuSign as well. You can electronically sign the document and we can send it up to Nassau County. We want to eliminate the time between having CDBG funds, executing programs, and submitting it to Nassau County. Under that, I'll be quick, sorry everyone. A couple of things that we're doing under the senior services. We're actually working with Nassau County Office of Aging to receive vouchers for our seniors to use during the farmers market. We are doing Tech Thursdays, where we partner with a local CBO that will assist our seniors with their technology needs. From our survey, seniors said that they need to reach out to their family during COVID. They do not know how to work FaceTime or Facebook or what have you. So we have an organization that's coming in on Thursday. With CDBG funds, we purchased Amazon Fire tablets, where they can use them, they can learn how to, and even soon rent them out from us and bring them back. Under youth services, Joe and I was talking, we're doing the voucher. So there has always been opportunity for city housing youth to participate in any recreational programs. So we're now going to expand that opportunity to anybody that fits that low, moderate income eligibility to participate in any youth programs, and community development will copy the same voucher system from city housing and do the same thing. City housing, I'm saying it right? Public housing. Thank you. So we're going to do the same thing where any recreational program, including the summer camps, we will provide them with the same voucher, and they can participate in any program. And this is anybody who fits that criteria, and that is the new voucher system under community development, under our youth services. The next is the youth council. So we are working on the youth council where they will come through training over the summer. The goal is to keep kids engaged and youth engaged over the summer. There's no longer summer season, school season, thanks to COVID. It's just keeping kids engaged and active. And finally, we are doing the Leroy Conyers Park enhancement that's coming up this weekend. We are in the process of getting the community to vote on what enhancement they would like for the park. Is to remove the shuffleboard and put some possible young tots playgrounds. And that is everything from community development in a nutshell.
Now,
Any questions?
what will the effect be?
Thank you, Moni.
There's a surf camp on one of
All
those
right, Joe,
beaches.
you're next.
So Myself and Chief Gillespie, speaking last night.
Good evening. I'll try to be as brief as I can.
Announce yourself, 'cause I did.
What's that?
I said announce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe Brand, Commissioner of Parks and Recreation. The weekend festivities got off to kind of a very hesitant start thanks to the wonderful weather that we had. But we did officially kick off the City of Long Beach for summer business on Sunday morning with our 10-mile race. Donna came down and kicked off the festivities. The race was won in a very wet and cold conditions by a former Long Beach High School hockey player, a gentleman by the name of Jack Mulvaney. So it was a nice feather in the hockey program's cap to finally have somebody who enjoys running for enjoyment and not when they're being chased by a cop. So it was good. Yesterday we were blessed with some beautiful weather for the ceremony at the VFW. Very well attended. In lieu of the parade, it was a really nice event, obviously celebrating those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. Getting to the beach pass sales are brisk. We launched the electronic beach pass option. It's having, decent results for a first year of launching it. Councilman Delory and I had multiple conversations with how we felt it was going to be received and how utilized it was going to be, particularly for residents and season pass sales, proving the old adage that old habits are hard to break. People still enjoy standing online when they to buy their beach passes, and luckily we've been staffed at both locations with plenty of people there, so we haven't encountered the 3 and 4 hour lines that have plagued us in years past. So I have to give kudos to my staff because they've been working very diligently with the pass sales and with all of the background work that has to take place with uploads from the electronic ones. I get a frantic phone call at 10:30 at night from some of my supervisors, and they can't get through to this or can't get through to that, but they should be commended for that. They put a lot of work into this, and I think the bread and butter with that electronic pass sales, particularly for the first year, is going to be in the daily passes. It's a much simpler app to upload and purchase, not to upload, download the app and just purchase the pass. There's no uploading it and minimal information. It's basically your cell phone number. The Recreation Center and the Junior Lifeguards have partnered to offer student-specific pool time for the kids prepping for the upcoming Junior Lifeguard test. Student swims programs ended last Friday. They'll be in the pool tomorrow, and they have all of the hours that were normally allocated to student swim that has been designed to get these kids prepped and ready for their program. I'm sorry.
That's on a first come first served basis, Emily?
Yeah, what we did is we blocked out 2 separate groups. One is for 10, 11, and 12-year-olds. There's an hour for them, 2 half-hour shifts. We could put more kids in the pool than we were able to put in all winter long. It's going to be, the junior lifeguards are going to schedule it. We'll staff it. The students are going to provide a lifeguard for it. So it was a collaborative effort on everybody's behalf to kind of get this thing. And then the 13 and older kids will come in the hour afterward. But there's 2 hours, Wednesday Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then the retraining courses are this weekend. The following week, we have a full week without the holiday that the same schedule will be available to them. So they should get some good pool time. In terms of events and beach activities, we're still guided by COVID and guidelines. To that end, during the week ending May 28th, there were a total of 4 new confirmed positive test results in Long Beach. Nassau County's positivity rate is 0.5%, the best numbers that we've seen since the pandemic began, and more than 60% of Nassau residents have received their first dose of a vaccine. This is all very, very helpful information and encouraging information as far as my department's concerned with planning. We sat for the better part of 2 hours today, just kind of going over, all right, where are we in terms of what's up for the next month and what's up, this week, and what we're going to be able to pull off and what we're not going to be able to pull off. Happy to report that Long Beach's most popular adult recreation activity, the League Beach Volleyball, is taking place as we speak. Not without its own fair share of glitches, which is probably going to be the overriding story to this summer. When we originally picked the location for the volleyball area, and by we I mean myself and Chief Gillespie, we try to find an area that can house a large group of people. Anybody that's familiar with the league knows on some evenings they get tremendous amounts of players there. Where there's parking, where there's enough usable space on the beach, where we're not going to interfere with the fewest amount of people. Add all these things up, and we came up with the area by the parking pad at Laurelton Boulevard, and we were going to use Laurelton, Magnolia, and National, and then if we had to string temporary nets on big nights, we could go a little further east than there. We had some pushback from neighbors in the Lafayette-Laurelton area when we went down to examine the footprint after the emergency lanes put in and started to look around. We're not necessarily in disagreement with some of the complaints that are there. Part of the contract that Mr. Berrios and I put together with the leagues leaves a lot of language that allows for us, at the discretion of the Parks Department, the Long Beach Lifeguard Patrol, and the Police Department, to move things around as we see fit. Part of the reason for moving it a little further west, Scoot and Surf was moving one beach west from their normal location. Lifeguard headquarters is at Riverside Boulevard now. We have to have the ability to respond to emergencies from lifeguard headquarters, particularly at night when lifeguards are off duty. So having the amount of nets that normally would house during that volleyball league in that area could be something that may be a life or death situation. Again, as the footprint has been rolled out, Chief Gillespie and I have had conversations as recently as this afternoon, that we do think we have a lot more room than we originally thought. So we'll play out this week with where we're at, and if we decide we want to move things around, then so be it. We'll move things around. What else? There are, like I said, Marie brought up the camps before. Camps are a collaborative effort now and Youth and Family Services. We're not looking to duplicate services. We're not looking to compete for customers. We're trying to design camp offerings that meet the needs of people who are just looking for a place to dump their kid a few hours a day, people who rely on it for childcare. And in addition to that, can we provide something that goes even above and beyond that 9 to 5 child care, because we have a number of people who have to have their children taken care of before 9 a.m. or after 5 p.m. So we're trying to meet all those needs. Additionally, we've been working with the school district, and there's some remedial programs designed to help kids catch up from what was a difficult school year that they're offering before school in the locations that we're offering camps, so they would be able to take care of not only their schooling portion, but they'd also have the ability to attend summer camp. The July 4th race is going to happen. The summer concerts are going to happen. They'll begin on July 7th. There'll be 9 shows Wednesday nights, and they will go back to a rotating schedule of east, west, and the center part of town. How will you hear about it? Kerry told me if I don't explain this tonight, she'll never talk to me again. But the city recently implemented the use of a new email communication system as a way to inform our residents of upcoming community events and pertinent city news. So keep an eye out for a digital event newsletter in your inbox. And for everybody's knowledge, this is different from the Everbridge community notification system, which is reserved for emergency communications and important information such as hydrant flushing or a water main. And lastly, I just wanted to make people aware that this Thursday, the 3rd, Mount Sinai South Minnesota's Vaxmobile will be at the MLK Center from 12 to 6. To schedule an appointment for a Pfizer vaccination, please call 516-812-3678. Second doses will be scheduled after the first dose on Thursday, and Johnson & Johnson is also available upon request.
Next slide.
Any questions?
Yes. Again, this is a very similar slide. This was worth mentioning here, the first ever affordable housing built in the town of Southampton. So that was Steve Malone, Jay Schneider.
The bathrooms are open till normally about 10 o'clock.
For affordable housing, never was able to really get together to get that in place, and it was Georgia.
And the other, or one thing that will probably or help alleviate some other concerns and quality of life issues, and Commissioner Walsh and I have spoken about this, the parking lots have to be vacated by 9 p.m. So we've made the volleyball leagues aware of that, and I'm sure there'll be a feeling out process at the start of this, especially June. It does stay later, but I think they'll get the message that volleyball is over, time to go.
And creating that affordable housing for
Yes.
longer term.
And we can't charge for the parking lots, yes. First thing I thought of, sorry.
New construction affordable housing where we find vacant land or parcels, as you can see here.
Their big nights are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. They have much smaller participation on Monday and Friday nights. And rather than in terms of teams, we do it more by how many nets they put up. So some nights they'll double up and put up as many as like 70 nets. But on a Monday or a Friday, it you wouldn't see more than like 15 or 20 nets, or the weekend tournament play, 15 or 20 nets. Yeah, the posts stay there, and then we actually take the volleyball nets themselves down. They're taken down at the beach entrances. The code calls for 25 feet of space between for people to walk through. And again, if we think that the net placement is causing a nuisance for anybody, we're well within our rights to
That's a really great question.
someplace where it's not.
A lot of people, they might give you different answers, but I think on the next, one of the slides coming up, we do define it. So if you give me a moment, we will get there. So here,
Normally they start around mid-May, 6 p.m. Yeah, like 6 p.m. to sunset, or their games finish, and then it's just a question of them kind of lingering around and hanging out and enjoying each other's company. But, it's a social event for them. It's a tremendously successful event. It's, financially it's lucrative for the city, so it's important to us budget-wise too. So.
the water costs the same amount.
What else?
We might get a break on real estate taxes, but the reality is.
Is there a ratio of residents versus non-residents
expenses when we're building affordable housing.
I could find out. I mean, we have a tremendous amount of non-residents that come here to play beach volleyball, a tremendous amount. But I'm sure everybody in this room has a friend, neighbor, or relative that plays it as well. I mean, it's well attended by both and successful because of both. You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that we do have the two different parking lots. Those parking lots are privately owned, therefore we cannot charge, and the families do not want us to charge because they do not want the liability. And so several people have contacted the office and say, why don't you start charging for the parking lots, and especially since we got the other parking lot this year on Lafayette. We cannot charge, and if the family finds out we're charging, they will yank both parking lots from us. So I just wanted to make sure that's clear. The last person that's speaking is Mr. Thomas Cannon, Director of Operations and Public Works.
Almost in all, right, that I've worked on. That alone will not.
Good evening, everyone. I'll just touch on the bathroom thing real quick. There's 10 bathrooms, 2 on the beach and 8 on the boardwalk. They open at 7 a.m. and they close at 10 p.m. except for if there's an issue where there's an event, one of the ladies out working, they'll put a supervisor. The other thing we're doing on the beach is you asked about the mats, Liz. We'll put one at Delaware tomorrow. We actually forgot to apologize. We have them at New York Avenue. We have them at Lafayette Boulevard. We have one at Long Beach Road, Neptune Boulevard, and Pacific Boulevard.
I'm going to jump on that because I've heard. I do not live on Delaware. This match is not for me. Thank you.
No, it's for a family that has, I believe there are three kids. Yeah, multiple children that need the mat, so we'll do that, no problem. One of the things we're doing is we're building new lifeguard chairs. We're going to build them out of wood. I think there's 24 of them. We're going to cut them down. The ones that we have obviously are outdated, get rusted. The new ones, we're going to make them about 6 foot high. The reason for that is we'll be able to build the mounts, and then Gillespie staff, chief of lifeguards, they can put them on top. Should there be a storm, they can take them out, put them in the back of the beach. If the mount washes away, we can come back and build the mount. So it's less work, it's less resources, less machinery. It's just a lot easier. It's something we wanted to do for a while. We brought it to Donna, and she was okay with us doing it that way. It just makes more sense. On the front of the boardwalk, the dune, we just finished putting all the new snow fence up. The new dune has, if you see, there's like a little mound in front, and it's a snow fence. It's meant to catch the sand and build the dune up so it grows out and up at the same time. So it's doing a good job, as Commissioner of Public Works Joe knows. So every few years we'll have to put new fence up. We just finished doing that. We put new showers in the west end. The old stand-up showers that were there, they were outdated, rusted, pain in the neck to get the parts for them. We took them out, put the same showers that are all cross-linked and the walkovers on the boardwalk, and we will be building decks. So when people are showering, they'll be standing on the deck, not the sand. We should have that done in a couple of weeks. What else we got? At Veterans Park, over in the Recreation Center, we just refurbished the whole bathroom. The guys did a great job. They painted it, they power washed all the woodwork, stained it. We did a new ADA door with a closer there. We put hi-hats in. It looks beautiful. Unfortunately, we can't open it for another week because the only part we're not in control of is the partitions. Or they'll be here sometime next week. So when that's done, we'll be able to open that up. We did all the new backsplash on the field. We put new fountains in. The fountains, they have filters in them, and they have bottles. So it's not the old school type of fountain. People actually drinking at it. It's a good idea with COVID. The walking path, the blacktop walking path, we're working with Highway Superintendent Greg Scott. I think right after the 4th of July, we'll be putting pull that one up. It's cheaper to have a company come in, pull it up, and put new down than for us to try to patch it. She has the tools to do that. And tell you about anything else.
The RAD, the calculation of the rent.
Yes, we went through the whole city. We did Park Avenue, the West End, the East End, the beach approaches, cleaned everything up, weeded out all the gardens, everything that was dead, pulled it out from Olmsted. We'll be finishing the West End tree pits, did the West End turnaround. The Welcome to Long Beach signs, and a sign out here for the food market. We have a company that's going to come in and they're going to refurbish the whole sign. Once we get it, we'll put it back up because they're outdated. They're falling apart. The signs that we're getting now, it's composite material, so it should last twice as long and it's half the price of Donna loves weeds. She told us water them, let them grow. So yeah, we pulled all the weeds out. in every
Still
spot.
pulling.
Donna has a very green
Yeah.
thumb.
Oh, I know. She was out there pulling weeds with us. So that means I got to get out there.
It's where you see the cars parked on the angle. There are
years
weeds.
ago, and
all those
its intention was to have housing
Where you
authorities
see dead
break
bushes, where you see
from
cars parked, those dead
HUD's
bushes.
annual allocations.
I want people
In
that work
practice,
for the
though,
city and people that live in the
When
city
you
and
calculate
proud
the
of the
rag
city,
rents,
which
they're-
means that we
they're
gotta
lower
keep the
and
city
tougher
clean.
to
So
meet.
once we get it to the
Benefit
point we
projects
want
that
it,
can be,
then it will be much easier to maintain. I want people to be able to park their car and not see a weed about this tall in front of their car. I want them to just be able to park their car and say, look how clean this is. And so I've been walking with the staff throughout the entire city,
some instances, yes.
where we need to clean, what we need to do, what we need to paint, what we need to replace. And then we go to Joe and say, okay, now find us some money in capital projects.
Many, most do, most do, yes.
We're in the process, and like Donna said, there's a few dead trees on Broadway. We'll be pulling all those out, mulching the area, and then this year we'll be returning to planting flowers. Well, it's a little late now. We'll do what we can, but in the fall we planted the kale. It's green, purple, it's beautiful. So we'll have money in the budget for next season to plant flowers in the spring, and then we'll do this fall with the kale. So it's a nice look. And it keeps all the trash and everything that's stuck in there. It's nice. It's real good. And we'll be painting the Martin Luther King Center. We temporarily patched the roof over there. We have a contract. They gave us a price. We'll have to try to find funds to repair that. In the meantime, we had a contract come and temporarily repair the leak in the roof, replace all the ceiling tiles, and we should have paint this week. And the paint pulled outside of the place. And then the highway department did a great job. Concrete was a little sketchy over there. They pulled everything up, put it all down. It looks beautiful.
That you mentioned, that the commissioner mentioned, would be revitalized.
And then that's it, right?
Really
And I'd like to just thank, for those of you that have come into City Hall this evening, you may have noticed that how clean it is. There's the new paintings of former politicians and mayors in the hallway where they
how tax credits work. Let me do this very quickly.
your staff and
So 1986 tax
Thank you.
reform
They do a good job. They try. So
Ronald Reagan creates the low-income housing tax credit program. Basically, it says, okay, rather than HUD being the genesis of new affordable housing, we're going to
you're
allow
right.
states to be sort of their
yes, Pacific Playground. There's an issue there where when one of the contracts they put the equipment in, they didn't put the concrete down deep. So when the wind blows, it was exposed to the concrete, which is obviously dangerous to anybody in there, especially the kids. So the recreation and maintenance staff has been in there every day making sure that it's covered. The fence blew down, it's a chain link fence, and there's high winds over there, so we took it down and we built a 2x8 bar fence so we don't have that issue anymore with the wind blowing. We will address, we're going to have to, in the off-season, we're going to put some electric rubber around it for now, so it won't get hurt. We'll address it in the off-season. We'll let them dig it up and just do it the right way.
We will sell it to a bank, typically, that will then
Yes,
invest in the
definitely.
project. So they'll take the 10 years
Questions?
of tax credits. And in
So I just want to make sure that everybody is aware, we have money in the capital budget. So as we're trying to do beautification within our city, it is money that has been sitting there for a while, and we have identified this money and what we can do with it that was in the capital budget, and we're using it to beautify the city, because we know we will have people putting on social media, oh, they're spending money for this, they're spending money for that. This is money that the city already had, and we're putting it to
I
good.
mentioned earlier, Southampton.
You mean somebody would complain in Long Beach?
Thanks.
All we're done.
Okay, thank you very much. If there's no questions, that ends my report.
I keep hearing from people listening at home that some of the microphones are not on. They mentioned Mike and Karen, so just, I guess, check it out.
Oh,
Was it
okay.
mentioned? I'm shocked.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
So
you.
that ends my report.
All right, thank you. And I believe Councilman Delory had something. he
I
was
just
gonna
have something
talk about.
to talk about briefly. On Saturday, May 1st, the Long Beach Lions held a Zoom bingo fundraiser. The purpose was to raise money for a family for a young boy, Tyler Lipsky, in need of a ramp and the installation of a chairlift. I'm happy to pass on that they raised over $6,000 through bingo and private donations. And I'm going to lateral it over to Councilman Mandel.
Thank you, Councilman Delory. In addition to that, on Thursday, May 27th, the Long Beach Lions had their annual scholarship, in which they awarded to Long Beach High School student Julianne Robinson the amount of $500. In addition to that, the Lions also presented Robert Blau, who's the president of the Long Beach Soup Kitchen, with a check for $500. So we appreciate the Long Beach Lions. Thank you.
Okay, and
Wait, before we end, I just want to also mention that June begins Pride Month as well as hurricane season. Please get those two go bags together and you can look at the Long Beach website at lbready.gov and get any information. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
all right, anyone else? All right, I can't see Councilman Delory from up here, so if he starts dozing off, somebody please let me know so I can throw this at him.
I'm sure the cameras will point that out. President Bendo. Or you.
All right, so why don't we move on to the agenda?
Item number 2 has been taken off the calendar for tonight. So we're going to start with a public hearing for a resolution granting waiver of off-street parking requirements for premise 154 East Park Avenue, street floor, for a holistic alternative products store.
Okay, I didn't even have to ask.
You know, we're excited a little bit. It's the
Good,
first one we're
welcome.
doing.
So tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, my name is Edward Janusa. My other half is there, Mackenzie Coughlin. We started a company called CB Trees back in 2017 in my little one-bedroom apartment in Miami, and now have successfully got several products out to mass distribution. We're signed with a few mass distributors. We're proud to say we're going to be on Amazon the next couple of months. And we happened to fall into the opportunity of getting a little storefront in my hometown, born and raised here. And we'd like to see what we can do with these products that we've been branding and developing over the past 4 years and really put our ideas all under one roof.
Okay, great. So when you say holistic products, I mean, I see the paperwork says you're talking about some clothing and stuff. And
so primarily what we use, the company is called CB Trees. We are a CBD hemp-based company.
So it's CBD.
Primarily. However, that doesn't limit a lot of our products. Getting into this business has taught us to brand and really get into the vegan lifestyle. We're a little all over the place when it comes to certain types of products, but it's only because certain distribution wants certain types of products for their outlets. For instance, we have a complete alternative cigarette brand. It's a 20-pack of cigarettes. It's 100% nicotine and tobacco free. The blend of hemp that we've sourced, Mackenzie and myself have toured farms over the past 3 years. The blend that we have, with a little bit more money and research behind it, we're showing to actually successfully fill the dopamine release that nicotine and tobacco gives you and releases in your body, thus pulling people off of it on a chemical level and giving them a better alternative product, all the way to our vegan spice line, which in the next 2 months, hopefully you'll see in all the key colors over here. Cross our fingers and it'll be out there. So from that to creams and balms and anything in between, it really turned into what we can brand with the sources we've had. And now we'd like to take it and put it all under our own roof and have all of our own products under our own brand, rather than just here and there and distribution lines being built up for other products.
Okay. And just for the edification of the people listening, this is the old hair tanning salon. It's a few doors east of Stevens Pasta on Park Avenue. So just so you know where we're talking about.
Apparently there used to be a little vape store in there,
yeah.
I was told. I was in Florida at that time and Oregon for a little while as well. But apparently that was there. And I'll tell you this, there's a lot of foot traffic over there. There's a lot of good people, you know.
Yeah.
So we're really excited to see what we can do.
Sort of near the new Codfish Cowboy location.
Yes. Yes. Right next door.
Right. So
you'll see. We'll have that front window glowing soon. 100%. We don't play when it comes to that. We like to be loud and proud.
Not too loud.
Not too loud. Not too loud. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Appropriately loud.
All right, so I'm just looking at the paper. So you're going to be 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And it looks like 8
Sundays are
hours
for
a day.
pasta.
Yeah, there you go. And you don't expect, looks like you're not expecting much in the way of deliveries.
Nope. We supply everything that we do, so deliveries are not a problem at all. We don't really have much to set up when it comes to the actual space itself. I don't think we should take up much room. I think it's just going to be very sharp, clean, and efficient.
Will you still be selling products on a website?
Yes, absolutely. You can check out our website when you guys are done. We are having it revamped because we would like to get all of the products on there, not just the highest sellers that we've had. And it took a little bit of time and money to get this all in order. But you can check it out now just so you can read a little bit about what we've done, where we've been, and a little bit of where we're headed as well.
Okay, great. Any questions from the other council members?
But that's the typical range, and
all right, hearing none. How about from the public?
For companies or not-for-profits developing affordable housing that they'll earn for taking the risk.
You got.
Please come up to the microphone and give your name, please.
It's also worth noting that
Mr. Dever.
You have to state.
Can you please come up to the mic and give your name, please?
Mr. Dever.
Can you come up to the mic,
state,
please?
State your name, please.
Hi, my name is William Depper, and I was asking him, does he have like crystals? Because most of the people I know, they're into like the crystals and like different sounds. So is he going to have like cassettes and stuff like that?
So, you mean it really crystals or crystallized form of space? Crystals itself. It's a great idea. Next to the I didn't plan on it.
All right.
So I'm more than open to talking about it. We have a lot of knowledge in the industry. So if anyone has any questions at all, please feel free to ask.
All right. Any more questions from the public? All right. Seeing none, let's close the hearing. And why don't we move that item now so he doesn't have to wait for the results?
Okay, so we're going to vote on the calendar item, which is item number 3, which is a resolution granting waiver of off-street parking requirements for premise 154 East Park Avenue street floor for a holistic alternative product store. Will introduce and move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes, and welcome and good luck.
Okay, on to the regular calendar. Item 1 is approval of minutes of prior meetings of April 6, 2021 and April 13, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve?
I just have one question before we do that quick. 13th meeting was a special meeting, but the opening sentence of the minutes say a regular meeting of the city council. Is
make that correct.
Is that okay? Okay. Just, what's that? So I'll move to approve the minutes.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 2 has been taken off the calendar. Item 3 has already been voted on. Item 4 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into agreement for the furnishing, removal, and installation of a new PVC pool liner for the Long Beach indoor pool from the lowest responsible bidder.
Okay, I'm assuming that's our Public Works Commissioner.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Joe Fabricio. I'm the Commissioner of Public Works. This resolution is to award replacement of the PVC, the contract for the replacement of the PVC pool liner at the Recreation Center. On October 29, 2020, we received 3 bids for replacement of the PVC pool liner at the Recreation. The low bidder was Renesas Corporation at $114,250. The second bidder was Natari Corporation at $140,025. And the third was Aquatic Dynamics. Their bid was $357,747. Renesas is the same bidder that successfully completed the installation of the pool liner in 2013. So the liner is now about 8 years old and it's ready to be replaced again. So therefore, we recommend awarding it recommend awarding the contract to Renesas. Our intent, funding for this resolution, just so you're aware, it does list on there that it's through the capital budget. However, there is funding through the CDBG program to fund $100,000 of this project, which unfortunately just didn't come through yet. Elaborate a little more on that if need be, but funding ultimately will come from the CDBG program. It's just being fronted, so to speak, through the capital budget. When we do this work, I apologize. Someone have a question? When we do this work, we're going to be also repairing the balcony in the pool area. There's an issue with the balcony that's in a state of disrepair, so when the pool's closed, we're going to actually undertake that work as well. That's pretty much it. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
About how long would it take for the lining in the balcony to be done?
It's about a month. It's going to take about a month.
When do they anticipate starting work?
It's probably going to be in the next 6 to 8 weeks. It's about a month's lead time for the liner, and that's why it was important to get this on the agenda.
Joe, this was also budgeted in the previous year's capital budget when I printed it out for $80,000. So
I didn't see that actually,
yeah,
but I'll check on that.
I remember that because it was
Okay.
supposed to happen before COVID.
Yeah.
So that was $80,000. So I don't know if that was tied up with the prior fiscal year's CDBG funds, right?
That's possibly what it is.
Okay, so then in this current year's capital plan, you have it budgeted under the city funding, and then you have it budgeted from non-city funding as well.
Correct.
So it's budgeted twice. And is that just because of timing?
Yes, that's basically what it is.
Okay.
Essentially. It's $100,000 of this project is going to be funded through the Community Development Block Grant Program. I put that money in the capital budget at the City Control's request because it wasn't available yet.
Yeah, it's because it's cash. Got it. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Commissioner, I have one question. What is the lifespan of a pool liner?
It's about 8 years.
So
8 or 9 years. So we're right at the useful end of the useful life of the liner that was installed in 2013.
Okay, and then if some defect occurred prior to that, would you know if there's a warranty on there?
There is a warranty, but I don't know the duration of the warranty. I'll
Okay.
find out for the new installation.
I'm just curious.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, if it's 8 to 10 years, if there's any benefit for extended warranties or things like that. I don't.
No, that's an excellent point. I will check with Renesys to determine what the warranty is on the new liner and if there are any extended warranties that are available.
And if there's any particular maintenance issues that need to be maintained going forward. Not that you would handle that, but sometimes there's certain vacuums or certain issues that have to be adhered to in order to extend the lifespan of a liner.
Correct, like certain maintenance.
Right.
For instance. Absolutely. Yeah, I understand.
Thanks, Commissioner.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Any questions from the council members?
But really, the impact is we have more equity coming to the table in the form of the tax, from the tax rate.
Okay, can you just explain the difference between that 4% and 9%?
The manufacturer. Yeah. Sometimes things are not communicated to the they're responsible. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from the council?
The states have the ability.
Okay. Any questions from the public?
To request, well, basically one or the other. Typically, I mean, we compared them here, but the reality is 4% projects are typically.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Roy Lester.
Now we get to see you in person.
And when you request the 4%,
I should be charging, right? Mike, I'm glad you asked the question because I went through this with the state when we replaced East Bathhouse Pool with the liner. And I remember before we replaced the liner, we had tile. And as you made the flip turn, of course, you cut your foot every time. But what was our warranty on this liner? When we put it in not that long ago. And if you look up liners, pool liners, it's average a 25-year warranty. It's a limited warranty, But it's, we're talking 25 years. So you look at what's, an average pool liner last without anything, it's 10 to 15 years. So I'm kind of surprised at an 8-year lifespan, and I'm kind of surprised what we had as a warranty.
You typically have to find less money because you're getting more.
Keep in mind, I did not have any consultation with Mr. Lester. I think I've learned how to think what he will ask.
About time, Mike. It's about time.
It's about time. I'm sorry to interrupt. Do you have any other questions, Mr. Lester?
No, it's just the warranty. It wasn't that long ago. Let me tell you, though, when it was put in 8 years ago, what a godsend. It was just wonderful. But I'm just surprised, and I'm kind of curious because, if it's a manufacturing defect, then the warranty doesn't really apply.
Okay, so that's that. So now,
Are you saying great minds think
What?
alike? Is that what you're saying?
No comment. That was my concern, is how and what should we be doing to generate the long-term benefits of a pool line? Because I certainly don't know that. I don't know if there's any experts here that do, but to have a consultation with the manufacturer to train those people that maintain it.
Do we know what the warranty is on the new one?
I do not.
No, I'm asked about the old one. What was the warranty on both of them? Yeah.
So, what will happen is,
Thanks a lot.
even when we open started working at the house,
It's my son back there. Can't leave him alone with you sharks.
All right. Any more questions from the public? Okay, let's move on to the item 5.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to amend the agreement for rehabilitation of the Long Beach Bus Garage and commuter parking facility.
Yes, this is a change order for Paul Walker Construction for the City/Long Island Railroad parking garage in the amount of $16,358.14. The change order for this is actually $91,858.14. However, there's a contingency in the contract of $75,000. So after exhausting that contingency, we need an additional $16,858.14. That's where that number comes from. So the change order is actually 91. We need 16,858. This change order, it's basically solely related to an increase in quantities in the contract. If you want me to, I can go through them all. I do have the list if anybody wants that information. But overall, the original contract value was $729,285. With the change order of $16,858, the new value is $746,143. So this basically represents a 2% increase to the overall contract value, which is, for a project of this magnitude, is I think reasonable. Funding is available in the capital budget for this. We borrowed probably about $1 million for the project. So between the consultant fees and the construction fees for Paul Walker, we're still going to be well within budget overall. We'll actually probably have money left over to pay debt service when it's all said and done. That's pretty much it. I do have a detailed breakdown if you want. I can go through what each what the change order was specifically, like each item in the contract. If you want me to go through it.
Will the change order add time to the project?
It will not. We're still on schedule to finish by roughly July 1st. It's going to be open again. There's one item that's called shear connections. Basically, when the two slabs connect, there's a shear connector, and approximately they estimated 230, they estimated 372 that had to be. They don't replace them. What they do is they actually put like an angle underneath and connect the two slabs together instead of repairing the actual shear connector that connects the slabs together. So those slabs those connectors or angles that they're ordering are on order, and they can do them from underneath after the facility is open. So they're still on schedule to open July 1st, but these extra connectors that they need to put in, which is part of the change back order, it'll probably be 4 to 6 weeks, mid-August. But again, they could do that when the facility is open from underneath. So So they should, so to answer your question, it's not a delay in scope.
As now that the COVID restrictions are being lifted and more people are probably going to be going back to work, I'm expecting more people are going to be looking to park. Will there be any opportunity to maybe like partially open like the ground level on the backside or anything, or do
I think they're
they
looking
still
for
need
a
that for
complete
work?
opening. I think they're looking for a complete reopening.
Okay.
They're just about done with the majority of the work. The last thing you're going to see is a complete coating. They're resealing all the joints up there, so they're going to put a whole new, it's like a polymer coating with new striping, so there'll be no more leaks underneath. There won't be raining.
Oh, that'll be a nice change.
And they're on schedule. By July 1, we should be in good shape. It'll be opened up again.
All right. Any questions from council members? All right, Roy. I see Roy's grabbing the pew, so he's.
And also through the reconstruction.
Not deserting them. It kind of reminds me of the Indiana firehouse, where they go in and they say, oh, well, we didn't know about this, we didn't know about that. And I know we put a contingency aside, and was it 10% we put aside? Yeah.
Self-sustaining for the next 15 or 30
So a little
years.
bit more than 10%.
Anytime any of these, and it sounds kind of silly.
Yeah, and it's eaten up already. So if we have anything else, it's more than eaten up.
They're going to create a self-sustaining.
Promise?
It's hard for people to happen, especially as we go.
I'm just wondering if we can get on our bidding a little bit tighter on the specifications so that people don't come back to us every time and say, oh, well, we didn't know about this or we didn't know about that. Well, listen, when I take a case and if I say it's going to be this much money and I don't know about it, shame on me. And I'm just trying to, if we could tighten it up in some way, and I guess, Joe, that would be, if there's anything you could do, because it seems to happen a lot.
Housing authorities typically win because they also benefit from a share of the developer fee, and they start to, if a housing authority is going to do the work, right, the developer fee is available. So, if you're going to do a bunch of work at your property, why not take the developer fee that's allowed?
It was really muscle, right? You brought some muscle.
I also think the neighbors, because, we haven't gotten there yet, but I think you'll see through the redevelopment as the Fisher mentioned.
I'm just, I see the consistency, and I'm trying to
For the housing authorities, we can talk to anyone of the housing authorities.
Joe, can you come up to the mic because the people listening online can't hear?
Yeah, in this situation, again, the shear connectors that hold the slabs together, until you remove the caulking in between the joints, you can't see them. Even though a lot of it was already gone from years and years of decay. So there is a lot of unknowns to this.
If you're good enough, you know the unknown.
Joe, excuse me, Commissioner Fabrizio. When you do construction projects, what's the average percentage that you are supposed to add to a contract for change orders?
10%. I feel comfortable with 10%.
10 to 15 is what I'm used to. So
2% is very good.
Exactly. Thank you.
This was $1 million contract.
No accessibility,
So this is 10%. So it wasn't
all run down, old heating underground. Let's go to the next slide.
$91,000.
The contract is $729. The actual value now.
So what we did was we relocated. We're actually in the third phase right now. So we took 12 residents, relocated them, built the building
75,000
right now, and then relocated them back. So here, I think this is a great aftershot. And
Theoretically,
this is a
theoretically,
community.
did the contract.
The North Hempstead Housing Authority owns this project, right?
I mean, you put 10% aside, but if you say, I'm going to the store and I'm buying a loaf of bread for $1, you don't say, here's $1.10.
North Hempstead.
You give them the $1. We contracted out for $729, right?
The kitchen.
Yeah, and then we put another $75,000 aside.
No,
As you mentioned,
16.
applies to the residents, but also, this is a different feel for the neighborhood.
So the 75,000 was, but we had a contract to pay them not the 729 minus the 75,000.
This is here's one. Next slide. This is out of Southampton.
Yeah.
Here's
So
what
we had a
we were able to redevelop. This was right on the Sneon train line. The Southampton Housing Authority.
So we automatically
affordable housing. There's some retail on the bottom. Let's go to the next slide. Historic building in Brooklyn.
But if they had completed the contract, nothing had gone wrong.
Historic rectory. Next slide.
That's
Okay, so here again, another public housing project.
Joe, just one quick question. Since there is periodic maintenance that's required and upkeep on the garage, and the parking fees are what is supposed to fund that, should we be putting some of those fees in a lockbox to let it build up each year, so when we do have to do work on the garage, there is a kind of a fund in place?
Absolutely. That's absolutely. Maintenance is critical. One of the problems that, this facility was built probably in the late 90s. And, we have done minimal maintenance over the last 25 years at the facility. And going forward, as long as we do routine maintenance, we won't have to spend this kind of money. Like some of the basic things that we noticed when we were up there, every single drain, was clogged. So that's something where, I've talked internally, we're going to make sure we have a conscious effort to do that periodically.
Yeah, and anybody who parks in there was aware of the condition.
Yeah. But even plowing, we should use rubber plows instead of plows with the steel.
All right, so maybe that's something to discuss with Ina.
So there are a lot of things we can do.
What we talked about earlier. Next slide. Yes.
You say one of the goals of these rehabs, so obviously construction is accessibility.
Okay.
How do you do that?
Any other questions from the public? All right, seeing none, let's move on to item 6.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement for hazard mitigation work at the Long Beach Ice Arena with the lowest responsible bidder.
Okay, this is the second of 11 hazard mitigation projects through the FEMA Public Assistance Program. We've completed one successfully, which is the West End Community Center. This is the second. It's the Ice Arena hazard mitigation. It's bids on Thursday, March 11th, 2021. We received 2 bids for this project. Premier Building Renovation was the low bidder at $912,500. The second bidder was Structural Preservation Systems at $1,793,200. The scope of the work for this project, a main component of this, which is really a coup for the city, we're going to be repairing the structural defects in the east exterior corrugated wall. Right now, if you go down there, it appears that it's almost like collapsing upon itself. You can't even open the new doors that we put in because the weight of the structure is coming down on it. It's pretty interesting the way they're going to actually repair it. On this east wall, they're going to actually cut all of the corrugated steel above it, and they're going to actually brace it, and they're going to build a foundation wall under it, and that will be what holds it up in the future. And we had dealt with FEMA and our consulting firm. They said that it was latent damage from Hurricane Sandy, and they are going to fund that whole repair on the east side. In addition to that, they're going to be replacing all the double doors in the front of the facility. There's 3 sets of double doors. They're going to be putting that's a polymer reinforced fiberglass wrap around the whole perimeter of the building. Basically, what they do is they put a stucco sort of a mesh against the material, and then like a stucco over that, and then they put a polymer fiberglass reinforced wrap around the whole building. Plus, they're going to be putting in a stop lock system at each entry/exit around the whole building. FEMA, it's 100% funded by the FEMA Public Assistance Program. It's called the 406 HMP program. And Premier Building is the company that you see out doing all the work on the Housing Authority. Apparently, they're reputable. Our consultant checked their references. And this is a great project, and it's 100% funded. And we like it started right away, so I recommend moving forward. Thank you.
All right. Any questions from the council?
Yes.
Go ahead, Karen.
I was looking, I noticed that the account numbers for this project start with an H. Right, so I think that this is a separate fund called FEMA fund. And that's separate from general water, sewer, debt service.
Correct.
Right. Is there any way we can start getting some financial reporting on this account, on this fund?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Anything you need from me or anything, Ina and I work collaboratively on all of these. We do have approximately $3 million in the capital budget that is designated for it's like disaster recovery or these FEMA HMP projects that we're going to be doing. We didn't borrow the whole $3 million either. We only borrowed about $1.5 million. It was supposed to be for this project and the MLK. Unfortunately, the MLK project came in, it was estimated about $700,000. It came in about $1.7 million. So right now I'm working with FEMA to try to get them to approve the additional money. So it's going to be on hold, I would say, for at least a year, unfortunately, till next year.
I'd like to see it probably on like a quarterly basis because it is a capital fund and there's so many ins and outs that you have to deal with. So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Commissioner, could you just explain about the sump pumps?
Actually, that's great that you mentioned that because that's another aspect that they're going to be putting in at the ice arena, the sump pumps that I didn't mention before.
Okay.
They're putting in sump pumps in case there's a flood or something.
High water
They have a
table.
stop block system in there. It'll pump the water out the side. I mean, like out from a high elevation.
And the roof drainage is going to connect with that sump pump? Or is that just...
That's an interesting question because right now we put money in the capital budget, $800,000 to address the defective roof at the facility.
Okay.
And I think we're going to have to look at that, the roof and the gutter system as part of that project because we never really solved the whole problem with the gutters on the side. FEMA wouldn't pay for that component because they were already... There's a lot of documentation showing that they weren't they weren't there.
I'm just trying to figure out...
That's a great point, though.
The second highest bidder was $1.7 million?
Yes. And that's interesting because I questioned the contractor. He happened to be the low bidder, Premier, on the MLK as well. So he bid very high on the MLK, relatively low on the ice arena, thinking he was going to get both bids. And I called him before we awarded it to make it clear to him that we were only awarding one, and we had no guarantees about the second bid. But he was the low bidder on both projects.
Have you worked with this contractor before?
I have not.
Okay. I understand your concern.
So, but I did check with the housing authority. Apparently, they do decent work. And the price is right.
The price is definitely right.
The next bidder was like 1.7.
Yeah.
But no, all indications are that they do satisfactory work. I don't have any reservations at all.
Would you have the same contingency in this one as you did in the...
I don't know offhand. I have to look. It's usually it's going to be in the $50,000 to $75,000 range.
Okay.
It depends. I mean, we use 10% as a rule of thumb, but if it's like a $5 million project, I wouldn't use 10% of $5 million. I would use a lower number. It depends on the scale of the project.
Understood.
For the dollar value of the project.
Okay, that's all my questions.
Jody, the hazard mitigation, are they going to be Dutch dams? The stackable
I call it
that
a
you
stop
put in
block
front of the
system, but
openings?
yes, that's exactly what they're doing.
Okay.
So generally, and this building has a lot of entryways and exits, so we'll have to have a container on site where we'll deploy them in the event of an emergency.
And then the wrap is, I assume, watertight. Then the wrap material.
They call it dry flood proofing, but yes, it's a wrap that goes around the perimeter.
Okay.
It's about 3 to 4 feet up.
All right. Any other questions from the council? Seeing none from the public. Right, we should just get you a chair and leave it there.
Mike, like you brought up, $800,000 for the roof, $900,000 for this, and we were talking about an RFP, and I think you said, Donna, that they initially, I remember these people came down, there was a whole presentation, you did a work session on it, and it really went nowhere, and you said that they were looking for us to pay them, and there are no other RFPs out there, nobody wants it.
Higher Georgia Green, they actually had
Yeah.
Starting to pursue the tax credits on their own. And then sort of realized that it's complicated. We should probably work.
No, I know that,
So
but
after 2 years, they finally, started to put the word out, and we were working with them. And we built this actually rendering. This project was built 37 apartments right on 27, cruising up to Montauk.
And they're maintaining it, right?
As you again, yeah. Okay, next slide.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. All right, so we're good. I think we covered the affordable housing. Yes.
Alan.
Oh, definitions. Okay. So typically, affordable is seen as 60% and below of the AMI area.
Because I remember their presentation. It was like, it was just so great for the city and stuff like that.
Workforce housing.
Yeah, well, they didn't say that.
Probably see that come up.
Thanks.
I don't really agree.
All right, any other questions from the public?
Although that's probably the
All right, seeing none, let's move on to item 7.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into 2 agreements for temporary parking fields.
All right, is that you, Rich?
I think so. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, great. My name is Rich Barrios. I'm Deputy Corporation Counsel here. We kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier. The 2 parking fields, one on the Foundation lot, the other over on Broadway by Laurelton, are owned by the Albert family. We've managed to do a lot of hard work to get those lots back. This resolution basically authorizes us to enter into those 2 agreements to use those lots as temporary parking fields. The authority to do that's in Chapter 15 of the Code. The rules are pretty straightforward and simple. Between the hours of 9 p.m. and 8 a.m., you shouldn't be on the lot. If you're on the lot, you're going to get ticketed. You'll probably get towed. Just one point of reference, because of the inclement weather over the Memorial Day weekend, we had a carnival scheduled as an addendum to that agreement. We may be working on a rescheduling of that to this coming weekend. I'm just waiting on the paperwork for that. But this is essentially just 2 agreements to use those lots as temporary parking fields. We don't charge for it. They don't charge us for it. We're glad to have the lots back.
It's going to keep people from parking in front of our driveways and things like that. So, yes, it'll help. Any questions from the council? I think we just need to acknowledge the work Donna and Rich did working with the Alberts to be able to get us access to these lots. Had we not, that especially the Foundation block holds a lot of cars. And those are people that would have been looking on the streets for parking, which means I would have been calling the police again because people will be blocking my driveway again. And so this is a good thing. All right, any questions from the public?
30% more tax credits as of right. So that number on the page is where that tax credit actually was multiplied by 30. And as of right source.
John, first of all, if you think this parking lot's going to stop people from parking in front of your house, you live in the West End. You're nuts. Okay? Just a real quick question. Tonight we're giving you authorization, so to speak, but the agreements were entered into May 1st. How do we... Is this a retroactive authorization? Okay.
You've obviously given us a good presentation on
Oh, it's great. I'm not saying
pluses of this program.
Yeah.
A simple Google search reveals some of the perceived horrors of the RAD program as well. Could you, from your perspective, also talk about some of the downside or how things can go off the rails?
Of a tax credit project?
Or I think we're talking more RAD.
I think RAD is, there's some really, I could recommend some, there's a woman who works for Nixon Peabody. She's...
But the agreements were signed on the 1st, May 1st, a month ago. And now, well, it says on the portal, I love your portal, by the way. I love your portal. Sure, but on, Yeah, on the portal it says you signed them on May 1st, and then tonight we're giving you the authorization to do it, which to me was a little backwards, but yeah.
We haven't seen in a lot of these instances how we can get
No, I'm not saying that. I just
financially stable model just through that, right? Income and expenses are not, income is not high enough.
and then they're not authorizing the agreement in this resolution. They're authorizing you to enter into an agreement. So they're not voting on the agreement that you've already entered into. Right. Yeah. But we are responsible if someone gets hurt and stuff like that. Now we're self-insured, you know, and you know they have no liability. We carry all the liability. Do we have extra insurance for these two lots of? Well, we don't have insurance policies under like.
Rebuild the property and
they're out of. But Donna, what I'm saying is we're self-insured, and at a certain point after the self-insurance, and I think after about 800,000, Rich, you would know this, then our insurance covers up to $4 million, and then after $4 million, the insurance doesn't cover it anymore. But in this particular case, do we have any? Did we purchase any? Like for the carnival, they had to buy insurance. Okay, did we purchase anything like that for the city, or are we just doing it under our self-insured stuff? Ouch. Okay, thanks.
We broke ground.
All right, any more questions from the public?
For our project, the workforce house section that you're, the one that
William Depper again. I have a question about the parking and the beach pass trailer. Wasn't there supposed to be like guys there to? Because there's say, do not
Mr. Depper, can you just step to the microphone?
Do not enter here. But other than that, the cars are just hopping up on the sidewalk to get a spot.
In other words, you must have a vision here.
Yeah, but there was like nobody there. I was shocked to even see people. I didn't even know it was starting tonight, the beach volleyball. And they're so packed. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a mess. But the point I'm trying to make is the toll booth there, there's a little toll booth there that I noticed last weekend, the big windstorm, it shifted the toll booth onto the sidewalk. And it hasn't been addressed yet, but I've seen it already flip over. And are you going to be putting more garbage cans over in that area?
So while there's an additional
all right, that's about it. Thank you.
We've been able to.
All right, any more questions?
So when we went through that slideshow.
All right, seeing none, we'll move on to
Okay,
voting.
on to the voting. And we'll start with item number 4, which is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement for the furnishing, removal, and installation of a new PVC pool liner for the Long Beach indoor pool from the lowest responsible bidder. Excuse me. Who will introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to amend the agreement for rehabilitation of the Long Beach Bus Garage and the commuter parking facility. Which just move the adoption of this item.
That's right. So
I will.
costs, right? So the
Second?
tax credits that you calculate based off of your cost.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement for hazard mitigation work at the Long Beach Ice Arena with the lowest responsible bidder. Will introduce and move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
And finally, item 7 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into 2 agreements for temporary parking fees. Will introduce and move the adoption of this item.
I will.
So the answer is we
Second?
turn away a project.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
I'd like to thank City Manager Gaydon and all her hard work, and I vote yes.
But we have been able
Councilmember Mandel.
to work from this
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
I too would like to thank Ms. Gaden and Rich Berrios and the Albert family for allowing this to happen, and I vote yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
You make a motion to close the meeting.
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes. Okay, on to good and welfare. So you get 3 minutes. And, oh, Dave moved the sheets to the back. All right.
Can I just say how nice it is to hear everybody laughing? We're always on mute.
There are good firms out there doing this throughout Long Island. There's not many firms that do it, but there's other firms that do it. And I love Long Beach. I've been serving this since 16 years old, so I've always wanted to develop a project here.
I just want to say it's good to see everybody here, and having Zoom meetings is just not
Okay, like this. basically.
what a good
So this should be
public
fine, right?
dialogue is, in my opinion. I personally learn a lot from questions that come up, and it's good to see everybody. And I miss everybody. Yeah.
All right. So first, and I don't know how many he put in the box tonight. This Roy Lester.
Ron, I guess the first one is for you. Police satisfaction survey.
And when I worked at Wiki, one lady was our tax
To be
director.
able to hear you.
So they laughed.
Yes, I do.
How much is the police satisfaction survey costing us? Now you're sounding like my wife. You save money. The stress, you save money on it. Okay. Donna, this one's for you. On the public, on the reports are great. A little lengthy, but they're great. But, if the public could... Yeah.
Yes.
It would be great if the public were allowed to ask questions about those reports, because, the reports bring up questions, and.
And I'm glad. Can you hear me, Dave?
It's not coming off my three, Don.
Yeah, I know. He stops it when I speak. I
We all
understand
do.
you're saying the reports are very lengthy, but prior to me getting here,
Yeah.
the city manager was the only person that speaks.
Oh, I remember.
And the city manager doesn't do all the work in the city. And so the residents need to know who's working for them and what the projects they are working on. So it may be a little lengthy, but it's informative.
It is informative, yes. That's why I say it'd be great if we could ask questions about it. Charter. I spent 6 hours today for question number 2. There, Anyway, but the charter is almost impossible to navigate. It doesn't have an index or anything like that. The other part, the codes have an index, but the charter doesn't.
Okay.
And so you have to scroll through the whole thing, and it's just really, if you could change that, it'd be great, a lot easier. And Joe, this one, Joe Williams, you had said that as far as the beach numbers are concerned, we're still dictated by COVID. In what respect?
Great resources, and they also are well acknowledged, know how to do these projects really well.
And what are the rules now? Because I can't keep track.
To ensure that,
No, it's like, capacity and the
not a bad thing for there to be multiple, partners involved, or, CDC Long Island is
Rules.
free property that we, CDC is involved in, actually a lot of our.
CDC, a lot of things, some, work out in Suffolk County with using the coastal funds, and I'm wondering if
I don't think it is.
Where they gave, there was an option for a lottery that gave families that were impacted by Sandy, they gave them, there was a lottery.
That was in Riverhead.
Yeah.
We also have a project in Riverhead.
Good luck with that.
But that one's down the block.
All right, so right now it's 500 basically.
And so,
Okay.
so grateful for your time.
That's
I'm
it?
sorry,
Thank you.
This is really
Yeah,
so
thank you.
important.
All right, Mr. Hodge.
For doing so much good. Now that I forgot my question.
Greetings, President, and greeting council members, greeting to our city manager. I come to you and ask and say that we actually take a moment. I heard nothing about, I saw nothing on the City of Long Beach site about the atrocity that took place 100 years ago. Sometimes we say Black Lives Matter because if you don't tell your story, nobody else will. And so one of the number one atrocities that happened in this country, where a city was bombed, was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. There have been many massacres, but that one, I believe, that we should have a moment of silence during my 3 minutes.
She worked at HUD as the regional.
James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street. Let me reintroduce myself, because sometimes it seems like many of the city council members and the city administration have forgotten who I am. I'm a man that's been in the city of Long Beach for 44 years, 23 years working for my great city. Over 80 awards from federal, state, local, and even many organizations. I thought I've tried to do what I could do to be that role model, that young African-American man in the community. Never been to jail. Never had a sip of alcohol. Cursed about 5 times or 15 times in my life. Ask all my friends and anybody that know me. Joined every organization I could to help out. Was a great part of the auxiliary police here in the city of Long Beach. I worked very hard to make my mother and father proud, who's in heaven. And I pray that I'm making them proud now. My mother and father came from Alabama, poor, worked very hard and taught me how to work. That's all I've done. Tell me what have I done to try to go out and feed people from Nevada to Maple, from the Bay to the ocean, during Sandy, volunteering all my time, and then during this pandemic, one of the first people to wear a mask because I have underlines and found out, which I thought I had cancer, but I have an autoimmune disease. So tell me what do I do? What did I do wrong, having seniority more than most of this city? So proud that we finally found an African American that can be city manager, that can show that black people are smart too, and then only to be fired after working with her a few times. So even if the city manager don't know me, this city council know me because I've been here 44 years and I've given back. I've done what Mrs. Oldham and the MLK and my father and mother taught me. And I say to you that if you don't see that you're wrong, God sees and hears every conversation. And I pray that I'm doing God's will. Even when the doctor, and I'll finish up with say this, even when my cardiologist told me that I'm risking my life doing the distribution, I told him if I go help in my community. So again, I finish saying, what is good in your eye if I've been giving back doing what I'm supposed to do in my community? Thank you for your time. I will continue praying for you. No matter how you do me, God judges me for how I do all of you. God bless.
Thank you, James.
James, I just want to say, just as I said at the last meeting and meetings before, you pray for us, we pray for you. And God sees everything. I'm a Christian. So just as I came here as a woman who had credentials to sit in this seat, who happens to be black, and know that I see what's right and I see what's wrong. And so don't ever think that just because I'm black, I'm going to pick one race over the another. I'm going to do what is right. So when you stand there and say, me, myself, as a black woman who did not see what you have done, I said to you last week, the last meeting, that I appreciate everything you have done. I applaud you for everything that you have done. You know that we don't talk personnel issues, but week after week, when we have a meeting, you come up to say that you were let go. So if you want to come to my office and meet with myself and Richard Berrios so that you can understand what the layoff process was, once again, I will be so glad to meet you. And to start off the meeting, I tell you what we'll do. We'll have prayer. Thank you.
Well, like you said,
you're done.
That's it. The thing is,
that was your time, James.
I have 23 years in. So the layoff process, I understand, getting the budget right. But how did I, with seniority, get on that list?
You know how you got on the list.
James,
we'll
make an appointment to talk to Donna.
I'm just saying, I'll make an appointment, but it's wrong. Donna may be here another year or two, and then she's going off. She will do her job and completed her job, and then she'll go off. This city council has an obligation to understand what's right and wrong. 23 years?
Okay. So
23 years I've served, and I'll continue serving, because I serve unto God, and I serve the people of this community. I'll serve.
Okay. Thank you, James. And Miss O'Leary.
We sure.
Okay, Jay Gusla. All right. Eileen Hessian.
I just have two short things. One is that I hated being on Zoom. I'm so happy to be back here again. But during all that time with Zoom, I didn't complain about it. I was happy that we had that, and I was grateful that you considered the problems that we were having, and you were safe rather than sorry. So thank you for doing the Zoom, and thank you now for opening this up. There were some people who did complain vastly about why we didn't have meetings in City Hall a long time ago, as if it was some nefarious plot against the city not having it here. And the funny thing is, as I look around, those complainers aren't here tonight, so who knows. The second thing I want to do is thank President Bendo and this entire administration for keeping up with those illegal overpayments, trying to claw them back for us, because after all, that is our money, and I'm very grateful to all of you for keeping up with that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Jim Kirkland.
Council member, because it's just so much information, so I sort of wanted to put it in a booklet this Friday. I can actually do that to make sure it goes in each one of your
I too am glad to see everybody back. I'm glad to see familiar faces again. But the thing I wanted to talk about was we were talking earlier about beautification of the city. Well, one of the things I notice as I walk around that a lot of properties have hedges alongside the sidewalks, and they extend maybe 2 feet out into the sidewalk. And sometimes they have trees, and they have branches that are so low even I have to duck. So I mean, it's something that's very apparent if you're walking down any of these streets. But I don't know if the city has anybody who's responsible for just constantly, besides you, walking around and seeing just exactly what needs to be addressed.
We're going to start walking with the building department so that they will start making the routines so that they can go to people and say, you need to do this for your lawn, you need to do like the trees if they're hanging over, things like that.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that, because I do take a lot of time on my own property. So.
And we're going to start a beautification commission.
Oh, sounds good.
It's my understanding it was one here before, and so and they took pride in what they did, so we're going to look into starting that.
Okay, very good.
All right, so that's a wrap, folks, for our first get-together again, and we will see you again in a couple of weeks.
Board members.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
That new organization does have an EIN. So I looked that up, so that means they went through the New York State Division of Corporations, or New York State Department of State Division of Corporations. So it is an entity. I'm not 100% positive that all members of the Housing Authority have agreed to be members of the new corporation, but this is something that we can review with all the documentation.
Right, and that if in fact, right now the city manager appoints the members to the Housing Authority, but I don't see how the city manager can appoint members to a non-profit board.
Exactly.
And so we have to start looking into all of that.
And there's two tenants that are elected by the residents of that community. And on the question we have to find out, where's their terms? Some terms are expired, some terms do not.
We are in conflict with that and going through it right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Don, for all this work.
The next thing we have is today is about the police reform update. Today, Commissioner Walsh, DePalma, and myself met with some of the members from the Police Reform Committee to discuss the things that the PBA has been putting out, how they felt that the whole process went in the next phase. What I will say is that we'll have a full report on Tuesday under the manager's report, but it was a very good meeting at National Night Out, which I'm going to mention something about that real quick. On National Night Out, they're going to put it, I'm sorry, August 3rd, it's the next meeting. They will have a table, and the police department is going to create a one-page document to talk about what that committee is going to do, what they talked about doing, and what they're doing next. And the second phase is the committee members are going out to the community to talk. Everyone that was there was very impressed with the process. They are impressed on what's being done right now. We did in fact invite the PA President Brian Wells. He declined. But we met anyway, and so that takes me to National Night Out. National Night Out is a big thing for police departments throughout the country. Typically, on most cities that I've worked for, it also is a council meeting. So what I've done in the past is I've had the council meeting outside if it wasn't raining, and the council meeting was very short, so that the council can interact with the public that's coming out for the National Night Out celebration. And that's what I would like to do this time. I've asked all the departments to keep the agenda very, very short. I think we will have 2 or 3 public hearings. That probably will be it. We will adjourn, and then we will then be able, everybody will be able to go out and talk to community members, whomever they invite that's there. National Night Out then will move at a later time towards the MLK, but it's a time for the community, and I think that that's the best way. So we will have the council meeting outside very well. So we will do the update, the more updating, you will also get some more information about that meeting today, which actually was a very good meeting. The next topic is we've been getting requests for benches on the boardwalk. Right now, we have a list of 300. Wow. And so the list itself is on the website. Yeah, and I can't tell you exactly where right now, but I'll tell you, I'll find out. It's on the website. Okay. Because I asked for it to be on the website so that people could see that when they think that somebody jumped them to get a bench, exactly where they're being. So what the staff is getting ready to do is to scrub the list, meaning that they're going to contact people via telephone, letters. Do you still want to remain on this list? And then once we have a good list, we will also say that there's very few benches that can now go on the boardwalk. However, you can put a bench somewhere else within the city. It could be in a park, or you're willing to do that. So what I would say is that if anyone is requesting a bench now, the only thing we can tell them is we can add you to the list. Because we will not jump the 300 names that we have on the list. And the list is on the website.
I got one question on it. How long will you give the information to come back to the council for benches? For example, you have 300 plus people on the waiting list. You're going to have to contact 500 or so existing bench owners. You'll send out, let's say, the letters, hypothetically, yours. Are you going to wait 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, a year until you get a contact from?
No, we will wait probably 30 days for the first letter. For those that did not get a response, we'll send out a second response. If we don't get a second response, we will take their name off the list, and we will keep moving on. One of the things that we have to do, and what Tommy and I have talked about, and we have talked to you, Joe, is that we have to come up with a good price for the bench and for the maintenance of the bench. Because what's happened is that people have bought benches in the city, something happens to the bench, and then the city has been fixing the bench at a very high cost for us. And so we have to make it conducive for us, especially during this time in our critical financial position. We have to make sure that whatever we put out there for people to purchase is correct. Tommy and his team came up with that we can also maybe offer something else, like plaques or bricks or something else that they can put out. Yeah, we don't have to worry about what we put the brick down, we don't have to place it in the truck.
Just so I understand the thought process, the 300 or so people that are on the waiting list, we're going to confirm that they still want a bench.
Yeah.
We'll wait 30 days or whatever until we don't get the answer. What if any new people from now until that point that would want a bench, but they're okay having it in another location, let's say the malls or West Bay Drive, or if there's an existing interest in that, do they still go to the bottom of that list A?
Yes, because we have to ask the people on the list first. We can't,
Okay.
we can't give you a bench on the boardwalk. However, here are the other places you can get a bench. So we still have to give them priority. Yes.
And the last question is, there was, President Bendo made a great recommendation a while ago about an engineering cutting it back so it doesn't break. And I believe that has been tested, tried, and it's been proved a good method.
It's been tested.
Yeah, I don't know all the results of, I mean, so I'll give you simple, it's called cantilever, meaning you got to fix the point that supports it, and then it sticks out far enough that we start, people are doing exercises, jumping up and down on them, sitting on the edges. Eventually the plastic in the sunlight and salt air gets brittle, and it'll crack at the connection point. If you look at the benches that are broken, every one of them is breaking where the bolt goes through. That's the stress point. So by shortening the ends, now you're shifting the stress, or you're relieving the stress because there's not as much on there, or because the other effect they were talking about was moving the lights outward, which was a little more labor intensive versus just, cutting 6 inches on the ends.
Because I think your suggestion, as far as I understand, it was a smart suggestion and it worked. And if you have,
it's much easier to do.
If you have 50 benches that need it, you're probably going to open up maybe 5 areas of a bench location than there was before, because you have a shorter space.
Well, you'll have a little bit more space
between benches. I don't think we're gonna move benches around to create space for 5 more benches. That would be a nightmare to do cost-wise. What you'll actually do is you'll make the benches more accessible by adding more space for people.
And then the last thing I have is that I'll give you an update on the commissions. We're going to start asking them to give us their minutes and where we are. And we'll start that.
How many of them are actively meeting now? How many of them are actively meeting now?
All of them.
Okay, so they are all.
Recreation is probably not meeting because it's the summer.
Yeah.
We have so much going on.
And recreation is,
And ethics is the one we're looking at, trying to stand up now, right?
Yes.
One of the things I was thinking about related to boards and commissions is if somewhere we can keep a list, an ongoing list of like maybe quarterly or monthly of the members of the
sure.
And then, you know, the date that they started so that it's always kept up so that it doesn't become an issue.
Yeah, and we also have on the website.
That's where.
Yeah, so I will tell them to, we do keep the list.
I'm asking list.
Yes. Yes.
on that, the Recreation Commission, somebody may need to reach out to them to see if there's still interest in serving on the commission.
Okay.
And who, if any of the members, are the chairperson, coordinator, there's got to be some person, I believe, that would be the facilitator.
Yes. Yes, there will be.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, we're coming up on 2 hours, so.
That's it.
Anybody else got anything, or?
I still don't know.
And you don't have to tell people.
You know,
what says.
for eligible for FIP, FINP, for flood projects?
I'm not familiar with that, actually.
I know Suffolk has some projects going on.
My world of background.
I know, it's why.
It's one that I'm not familiar with.
Is that the fire on the Montauk Point?
Yes, that
Is that? I don't know if you hear from.
Montauk Point, they got, it's their fifth, they're going to the fifth project.
Yeah, no.
And they got a lot of.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, they got a lot of money, and I just want to make sure that we're not.
And just one quick question, for you, where are we on the train station, the parking lot repairs and bus depot? Even the bus depot?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll be back to 100%, then?
They're taking down the taxis.
All right, the Ferris wheel and the merry-go-round will be open and operating?
That's it, it's done.
Okay.
We just
But
finished
the
out.
benches will remain.
Yes, no, that was.
Oh, that's not bridges on the street?
Yes.
Oh,
Have
good.
we had any, as part of this, we going to put any additional bike, because the bike racks in there were always packed to the gills.
It's not part of the project, but we can certainly put more light.
I mean, I don't know if we have bike racks, sitting around, but, I mean, bike racks are always full in that place.
I've been under there, there's dozens and dozens and dozens.
And half the time they get locked up and never leave,
Yes, that's
so.
all. You know, we can do that. But it will be open Friday.
Okay, great, well, that's good, so.
Great job.
Can I ask one question, Joe?
Sure.
The Edwards Boulevard halfway, how's that looking?
It's funny.
Yeah.
We did get a couple of complaints about Edwards Boulevard, so I did look into it. There's basically 4 issues remaining right now. One is the permeable pavers that we're putting in the utility strips. That's going to be done within 2 weeks. Okay. We also have the striping. We've got a lot of complaints about the striping. That also should be done in the next week or 2. Another complaint is the condition of the wall. Right now, I went down there today in response to the things. The weeds are growing very, very bad. So we're supposed to meet tomorrow morning with the contractor at Allen Industries. He's responsible to rotate and seed the area upon completion. Unfortunately, right now it's the summer, so it's not a good time to seed. But it is, in my opinion, it's his responsibility to maintain the site in a complete condition. Basically mowing, grading, until fall. I didn't feel comfortable sending off crews down there because it is like debris in that wall, but I have one mower in there right now, and it could be brick. So I didn't feel comfortable having our personnel do it. But we'll be with it tomorrow morning, and, I'm trying to take care of it, very short, probably. It does look, I went there today, it was, I guess, all the rain, it was pretty bad, and I was very concerned. And then landscaping as far as trees, we're going to be doing that in the fall. That's going to be the city person, I'm going to be taking that out of the project.
This is not the time to do landscaping.
But we're going to do that work in the fall.
Just a quick question regarding, so the strip between the curb and the sidewalk was originally going to be grass,
The intent, yes.
which I'm assuming as part of the design was accounted for in the drainage because that's obviously moisture absorbing. The permeable pavers, I mean, are they, as far as equivalency to grass, how much more water do they pass versus how much would roll off into?
I would say that basically what happens is put down on a layer of gravel. You can see, if you drive down there now, you can see the gravel. It looks like we're on concrete if you want to kick it around.
Yeah.
So the problem that we had on the block was when it was spec'd out as grass, because we were trying to reduce that completely. It's supposed to have more concrete utility strips. But I probably got at least 10 people complaining that we had concrete there previously. We want concrete, the bottom buildings there wanted concrete. It's the only piece of landscape they would have now. Now we just built the mow. So what we did, we basically decided for permeable pavers.
No, I get that. My question was, is did permeable pavers pass as much water as if it was effectively grass?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not creating a impervious surface that water will roll off onto the sidewalk or the street.
No, and just some good news is that we did get some sporadic flooding throughout town, but they were just going well. So the new drainage system that we put in, which is an on-site storage system, underneath the 7 walls, worked really well. So that's good news. So I did speak to a couple of residents, and I just asked for their patience. Because we don't want our customers to engineer to take a little longer than expected, but I think when it's all said and done, it's going to be.
Now, at any point, will those tie into the new pumps?
Right now, all the drainage is on-site storage right now. Right. There is an overflow system in there that will overflow, if it totally comes up, it can overflow to Park Avenue, then come down to Riverside, then drain out Riverside. But generally, the design was to maintain all on-site stormwater on-site.
Okay.
That was
so there's no force pump.
Yeah. I have some good pictures if you have a chance to see the drainage system go. It's pretty impressive.
Okay.
And just as another note, we have our Boyd Street on the pond. It's pretty much 100% complete also. And it was going dry very early, and I was doing components on that street as well. You have a chance to stick right down, so it's turned out really well. Nobody's on that house.
All right. So now we're at 2 hours. So let's ring the bell and thanks everyone for all 2 of you. And I guess we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you.